Good morning, everyone. Today, I want to talk about a powerful skill that shapes our personal and professional lives. The art of convincing people. Whether you're trying to win a debate, sell a product, or simply express your viewpoint, the ability to persuade is essential. But convincing people isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding, trust, and communication. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it and how well you understand your audience. Know your audience. The first and most critical step in convincing anyone is to truly understand who you're talking to. This may sound simple, but it requires a great deal of observation, empathy, and preparation. Knowing your audience means more than just knowing their name or profession. It means understanding their values, beliefs, priorities, fears, and motivations. People are not persuaded by arguments that don't relate to their own experiences or concerns. If you're speaking to a group of farmers, their needs and interests will be entirely different from those of college students or business executives. So the language you use, the examples you choose, and even the tone of your message must be tailored to fit the audience. Ask yourself questions like, what does this person care about most? What do they stand to gain or lose from what I'm saying? What kind of tone would they respond to? Formal or conversational, passionate or calm? Are they open-minded or will they resist change? For instance, if you're trying to convince someone to adopt a new method or idea, and that person is traditional or cautious, using overly technical or revolutionary language might scare them off. But if you take the time to speak their language, showing that you respect their background and explaining how the change benefits them personally, your chances of success go up dramatically. In short, people are far more likely to be convinced when they feel seen, heard, and respected. When you make an effort to understand them first, they become much more open to understanding you. Build trust first, expanded. Before you can convince anyone of anything, you need to build a foundation of trust. Without trust, even the most logical arguments and well-prepared presentations fall flat. People don't just listen to what you're saying, they pay close attention to who is saying it. If they don't believe you, they won't believe your message. Trust isn't built overnight. It takes consistency, sincerity, and respect. One of the first steps in building trust is showing that your intentions are honest. This means avoiding exaggerations, hidden agendas, or manipulative tactics. If people sense that you're only looking out for your own benefit, they will shut down immediately. On the other hand, if they see that you care about their perspective, that you're willing to listen, and that you're open to dialogue, their defenses begin to lower. Authenticity matters. Speak with sincerity, be transparent about your goals, and admit when you don't have all the answers. Ironically, showing a bit of vulnerability, such as saying, I may be wrong, but here's what I believe, often makes people feel more comfortable. It humanizes you and shows that you're not pretending to be perfect. Consistency is another pillar of trust. If your words today contradict your actions from yesterday, or if you switch positions depending on who's in the room, people won't trust you. Conviction followed by consistent behavior sends a strong message. You are reliable and honest, and reliability builds credibility. Also, body language and tone play a huge role. Avoid being too aggressive, overly dominant, or faking your delivery. A calm, respectful, and open demeanor does more to earn trust than dramatic speeches or polished arguments. People don't just listen with their ears. They listen with their instincts, reading your energy and behavior even before they process your words. To sum it up, before you try to change someone's mind, work on earning their confidence. Trust turns an ordinary conversation into a meaningful one, and a meaningful one has the power to persuade. Speak with confidence, not aggression. One of the most crucial yet often misunderstood elements of persuasion is confidence. When you speak with confidence, you signal to your audience that you believe in what you are saying. Confidence creates a sense of certainty and reliability, and people are naturally drawn to those who seem sure of themselves. However, confidence must never cross the line into aggression, because that's where persuasion often fails. True confidence is calm, controlled, and focused. It does not rely on shouting, interrupting, or dominating the conversation. In fact, people who become aggressive while trying to convince others usually appear insecure rather than persuasive. Aggression can make your audience feel attacked, defensive, or even insulted. And once that happens, it becomes nearly impossible to reach them. Instead of trying to overpower your listener, aim to inspire them. Use a firm, steady tone. Make eye contact if you're face to face. Avoid filler words like OMR or maybe that weaken your message. Stand or sit upright, use open gestures, and speak with clarity and purpose. These nonverbal cues communicate self-assurance even before you finish a sentence. Confidence also means being well prepared. When you know your subject, have thought through your points, and anticipate possible questions or objections, it naturally boosts your self-assurance. Preparation removes the need for force because your message becomes compelling on its own. Importantly, confidence also includes respect for disagreement. A confident speaker is not threatened by opposition. Instead, they welcome questions and respond with patience and poise. This signals maturity and strength, and in many cases earns the audience's admiration even if they don't fully agree. Aggression, on the other hand, tries to win at all costs. It can involve interrupting, belittling, or speaking in a way that corners the listener. But when people feel cornered, they resist, not because your argument lacks merit, but because you've made them feel small or disrespected. So remember, confidence draws people in, aggression pushes them away. Speak with belief in your message, but always combine it with respect for your listener's dignity and viewpoint. This balance is what makes persuasion truly powerful. Use logic and emotion together to truly convince someone. It's not enough to rely on logic alone, nor is it effective to appeal pure emotion. Real persuasion lies in the delicate balance between the two. Logic provides structure and credibility, while emotion provides connection and motivation. When you blend them effectively, your message becomes both convincing to the mind and compelling to the heart. Let's start with logic. Logical arguments are built on facts, data, evidence, and reasoning. They answer the question, does this make sense? When you present a clear, rational case backed by proof, whether it's statistics, expert opinions, or past examples, you demonstrate that your viewpoint is not just an opinion, but a well-grounded conclusion. This is especially important when you're trying to persuade critical thinkers, professionals, or people who value analysis and objectivity. But here's the catch. Logic alone often isn't enough to move people to action. Many people make decisions based on how they feel, not just what they know. That's where emotion comes in. Emotion answers the question, why should I care? When you tell a personal story, evoke empathy, use passionate language, or touch on someone's values and fears, you give your message emotional weight. You create a connection that logic by itself can't achieve. For example, imagine you're trying to convince a community to support a new hospital. You could present logical facts, the number of patients served, the increase in health coverage, the economic benefits. That's important. But if you also share a story of a mother who lost a child due to delayed emergency care, your message suddenly becomes human. People won't just understand the issue, they'll feel it. That emotional resonance can be the tipping point. Using both logic and emotion doesn't mean manipulating people. It means respecting both sides of human nature. People are not robots who process only data, nor are they creatures who act solely on impulse. They are a blend of rational and emotional beings, and your approach must reflect that reality. The key is balance. Too much logic can feel cold or detached. Too much emotion can feel exaggerated or manipulative, but when you unite the two, solid reasoning supported by meaningful emotional appeal, your message becomes far more persuasive, memorable, and impactful. Listen more than you speak. One of the most overlooked yet most powerful tools of persuasion is listening. Many people think that convincing someone is about talking more, arguing harder, or dominating the conversation. But in reality, effective persuasion often begins not with what you say, but with how well you listen. When you truly listen to someone, you're doing more than just hearing their words. You're trying to understand their thoughts, feelings, fears, values, and objections. This shows respect, and more importantly, it allows you to tailor your message in a way that directly addresses their concerns. After all, how can you expect to change someone's mind if you don't first understand what's inside it? Listening builds trust and creates a safe space where people feel heard and valued. It lowers defenses. When someone realizes that you're not just waiting for your turn to talk, but genuinely trying to understand their perspective, they become more open, more cooperative, and more willing to engage with what you're saying. Ask open-ended questions and pay close attention to their answers. 2. Notice not just the words, but also the tone, body language, and emotional undertones. Sometimes what people don't say is just as important as what they do say. Maybe they're unsure, maybe they're afraid, maybe they've had a bad experience in the past that is coloring their view. If you listen carefully, you'll pick up on these subtle clues, and they can guide you to the real heart of the issue. Listening also helps you anticipate objections. When you understand someone's doubts, you can address them calmly and intelligently. This makes your response more relevant and more persuasive. Instead of guessing what the other person needs to hear, you're responding to what they've actually expressed. And that precision can make all the difference. Moreover, when you give someone space to talk, they often end up revealing more they intended. Sometimes through talking aloud, they themselves begin to see the gaps in their own thinking. It becomes a moment of self-realization, and that is far more effective than any point you could argue. Ironically, when you listen more than you speak, your words carry more weight when you finally do speak. Because now your response is informed, empathetic, and relevant, not just a generic argument, but a thoughtful reply crafted from understanding. In short, listening is not passive. It is one of the most active and strategic tools in the art of persuasion. It allows you to lead without pushing, influence without dominating, and connect without conflict. Keep your message clear and simple in the world of persuasion. Clarity is power. One of the most common reasons people fail to convince others is because their message is too complex, too long-winded, or too cluttered with unnecessary details. The truth is, a confused mind always says no.